So for this week's article review, I chose to analyze an article that's called Brand Personality and Brand Equity, Evidence from the Sportswear Industry, that was published in the Journal of Product and Brand Management in 2015 by researchers from Santa Barbara. The purpose of this research was to examine personalities of sportswear brands and their relationships to brand equity and answer the following research questions. Are sportswear brands perceived to possess personalities, and if so, what are the underlying personality dimensions of sportswear brands? And what are the relationships between brand personality dimensions of sportswear brands and overall brand equity? Additionally, researchers wanted to look at the brand personality structure and how it impacts the brand equity in the context of sportswear industry. And looking at prior research, the authors of the study realized that there was a gap in the studies, and they wanted to examine the relationship between the brand personality and brand equity. Key findings from the prior research. Researchers from a variety of backgrounds and from different times identified that there was a need to create an appropriate scale and specific personality traits in particular sectors. Acker in 1996 identified that brand personality is a key component of brand equity. Other researchers also identified that sportswear market is highly competitive and is one of the most heavily branded areas in global apparel market, and that strong brands with positive brand equity have better product market outcomes, and therefore brand extensibility and price flexibility and market performance outcomes. So looking at all this, I think it's important to look at some key definitions. First of all, brand and strategy, based on this article, is defined as a key element in the marketing mix, increasingly viewed as a powerful tool to obtain sustainable competitive advantage. Brand equity is an important part of brand building, and it has a differential effect on brand knowledge and consumer response to the marketing brand. And brand personality is regarded as all personality traits used to characterize a person and is actually associated with a brand. Brand personality indicates consumers' perceptions of personality traits of brands and further helps create and build meaningful consumer brand relationships. The methodology of the study was as follows. It used Acker's brand personality scale framework that was developed in 1997. The researchers in this study compared 10 sportswear brands according to Commerzbank. These sportswear brands were marked as the most popular ones in 2008. Nike, Adidas, Reebok, Puma, New Balance, Converse, K-Swiss, Skechers, Under Armour, and Asics. The researchers also set out to empirically investigate the personality of sportswear brands and the impact of brand personality on brand equity. So the data was collected from 420 college students, 60% of which were female and with an average age of 22. It was a convenience sample from two universities, one in the south of the United States and one from the north of the United States. And the demographics of this population was 77% Caucasian, 10% of African Americans, 8% Asian, and just a little bit over 1% of Hispanic and Latino. The study yielded 284 attributes, and after reducing redundant and ambiguous attributes to a final 64 traits, the researchers set out to define the dimensions. So the findings in the study define 7 dimensions of personality in sportswear brands, and these consist of competence, attractiveness, sincerity, innovation, activity, excitement, and ruggedness. These 7 dimensions consisted of 53 traits. Most importantly, researchers found that the following 4 dimensions are most important in branding efforts, and therefore if the researchers have limited resources, they should really focus on their branding efforts using these 4 dimensions, and that's competence, attractiveness, sincerity, and innovation. And lastly, it's important to look at limitations and future research suggestions. So the authors of the study used a convenient sample from two different universities, one in the south and one in the north. The age of surveyors was between 19 and 30 years old, with average age being 22. The researchers of this study only examined the impact of brand personality on overall brand equity, and therefore future research should focus on the influence of brand personality on perceived quality, brand awareness, brand association, and brand loyalty. And influence of brand personality could also vary depending on the demographic variables of or consumption variables such as involvement and price sensibility. And therefore, researchers wanted to suggest for future to look into these as well. And thank you for listening. These are the sources cited by the article, and I hope you enjoyed the slideshow.